Happy Tuesday. We are talking about ADHD and exercise part two. So, what we're going to be talking about today is deeper into the types of ADHD exercises that affect ADHD and when to use certain ones, which is really fascinating to me because they do different types of activities, do certain things. And so, we'll talk a little bit about that and just a deep dive to give you some like a roadmap of what you may want to do. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some ideas for what you could do if you're going to structure this, what might work, what might not, maybe some things that are like common traps that might like pull you off of that. So it's going to be a part two, an interesting call. And I have a health wellness degree and was pursuing that. I've been a trainer before. I was a semi-pro soccer player, a dual sport Division I college athlete with soccer and track and field. And so, yeah, love fitness. This is really cool. So when we're looking at the different exercises, what's really helpful to understand is just that it's not, yeah, you do exercise and you feel good. Like we're really altering our neurobiology. We can change how our brain is wired, how it regulates, how it sustains attention. And different exercises are going to affect that in different ways. Like different movement might stimulate different parts of the neural network that regulate attention, motivation, processing speed, emotional control, even balance. If you didn't know about this, Dr. Ned Hollowell, who's one of the leading psychologists on this, balance, doing things like that can actually improve some of our ADHD traits that aren't as helpful with the part of our brain that helps with balance. And so there's so much good versus just, I need to work out because I need to lose weight or be fit or something like that. It's about like caring about ourselves, not a punishment or trying to change our bodies because they're not good enough. So it's just really fascinating the more that I got into it. And exercise can actually increase the efficiency of communication between our brain networks. So it's almost like exercise is, think of it like physical therapy when you're training a muscle to be stronger, or even after an injury, right? If focus is hard, it can actually affect that. And so, especially with the neurotransmitters, we have dopamine and norepinephrine. Those fuel motivation, working memory, task initiation, like our motion regulation. And so really, a lot of people assume like ADHD is like this, if you haven't been on these calls or you're listening to the stigma out there, that's just like an attention issue. But really, it's about neurotransmitter regulation and the efficiency of the signals and the reuptake. And again, it can also be a genetic advantage, which we've talked about how ADHD and how our brain is kind of a brain of extremes. Like we're either bored or we're hyper focused a lot of times, right? Like we almost bored, like we almost feel sick or like depressed. And other times it's been like 4 or 5 hours and we don't know what time it is. So we have this specialized brain, which is really cool. And, sometimes we want to take that specialized brain and do things we don't want to do. That's what I just had a literal flashback in the moment of my mom saying to me as a kid, sometimes we have to do stuff we don't want to do. She say that to me all the time. I'd be like, why? Sometimes we just have to do things we don't want to do. So kind of interesting, right? So just again to reiterate, exercise increases dopamine and norepinephrine availability. It increases the receptor sensitivity for our dopamine. It also increases blood flow to our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive function, and then enhances our synaptic efficiency over time as well. So it's not just releasing more dopamine; it's learning to use dopamine more efficiently, which is going to improve a lot of our traits. um, you know, um, and so some workouts are going to dramatically improve focus and others might not affect them as much. And this was so fascinating to go into. So a lot of like studies go into the prefrontal cortex, which is a big part of it, but also neuroscientists are digging more into the disrupted connectivity in our cerebellum, which is over here. So it's like in the back of the brain. And so that was, as I said, traditionally associated with balance and coordination. And so the cerebellum right here regulates mental timing, cognitive pacing, prediction accuracy, attentional shifting, and fluid processing. And so in this region, it also shows like underactivation or some disorganized signaling. So that if you have that, which a lot of us can, our thoughts might be too slow or too fast, like so many thoughts, it's too much. We might need longer to transition between tasks. That sounds familiar to anybody. That's me right here. Maybe like a feeling of mental pause or freezing before action. We might have difficulty filtering distractions out. And then our brain might just kind of stall in moments where we need to make a decision. So it's what I've been reading about. The cerebellum's like a metronome for thinking, as they say. So if it's underactive or inefficient, our attention is going to lose its rhythm, and our processing might be a little bit delayed or harder, and our decisions might take more energy. We might have more paralysis. So that was just fascinating. And so let's talk about there's three types of exercise that are going to benefit ADHD the most. So the first one are cognitive engaging sports. They call these the cerebellum boosters, what we just talked about. So they're gonna stimulate both motor coordination and cognitive prediction. So this was really interesting: tennis, pickleball, table tennis, basketball, badminton, rock climbing, and parkour. If you don't know what parkour is, that's when you like jump off stuff and do crazy stuff just with your body. So tennis, pickleball, table tennis, basketball, badminton, rock climbing, and parkour. So they all require real-time tracking, like fast, rapid decision making, hand-eye coordination, motor planning, and contingency adjustment. So those all lean into the cerebellar circuits. And so when you're predicting like the trajectory of a ball and judging the timing and adjusting your footwork, that hand-eye coordination shifts attention to a moving target. They're all strengthening that like cerebellum to the prefrontal cortex loop. And so if you played any of those sports, maybe play any of those or have played any of those sports, like tennis, pickleball, table tennis, basketball, some people. Yeah, okay. Anybody do parkour? You just run off stuff. That stuff is crazy. People are like jumping off buildings, and oh my gosh, look up parkour. It's insane. So a lot of people they found in research report feeling calmer, sharper, more mentally organized, and more motivated after those sports. So it's training the brain to sequence and time inputs more efficiently. So that was really fascinating. So that could be part of your plan, right? If you've got certain traits that feel really difficult, I say traits, right? Because we have traits that are amazing too. We're not going to call this hyper focus a symptom. That's amazing as long as we point it, right? So if you have some of those traits, that could be part of the plan. So that's number one, are those cognitive engaging sports. Number two is aerobic training. So they called this the dopamine amplifier, So this is running, swimming, cycling, dance, rowing, and hiking. So running, swimming, cycling, dance, rowing, and hiking. And so there might be some other like more obscure things that fit in these categories. These are the core ones that everybody knows about, right? So running, swimming, cycling, triathlons, obviously, rowing, hiking. So what they're saying is these exercises dramatically increase dopamine and norepinephrine in the short term. And they act as a natural stimulant. So they're very helpful, especially for mornings or like before a task. And the more profound benefit of aerobic training is long-term neurochemical sensitivity. Long-term neurochemical sensitivity. So that's part of like increasing dopamine, and we're able to uptake that at a higher level. And so with consistency around this, and this could probably be like fast walking as well. You know what I mean? Like, or if you have like a hand bike as well, like maybe your mobility is different and you're not able to do some of these things, or you can get in the pool or something. So there's ways to adapt these if your mobility is different. But what they do is with this consistent activity, they're showing that dopamine receptors become more responsive. So that's that reuptake. Your emotional volatility or emotion regulation issues are going to decrease. Your task initiation, so that's like actually getting started, which we've talked about quite a bit, that's going to improve. Your stress recovery is going to accelerate, and your working memory becomes more stable. And that's more of like that short-term memory. Like our working memory is remembering why did I walk in this room? You know, what was I doing 5 minutes ago? Not the long term. So even like 15 to 30-minute sessions can feel like someone, as they say, turn the brain online. Some people will report it like that. And that's why if who's like been at your desk and you have this task and you want to do it and you need to do it, and for some reason you just can't start, and you like sit there and try to get motivated or try to get dopamine somewhere. So me done that before, and it's like, man, I just need to start. Yeah, I think yeah, like a lot of us have been in that, right? And so that's why what's really interesting is when I get in that mode and it's like a certain amount of time and I just have not been able to start it, I will go for a walk. Because otherwise I'm going to sit there for another 30 to 45 minutes, be on Facebook or whatever. It's just not going to happen. So I'm going to go out and go for a walk, which really the issues with starting sometimes comes down to like dopamine, and just not having like the brain just not engaged or it's not lit up. And so if you might have that certain amount of time and you're just not doing the thing, just get up and walk and then go back to it versus sit there and beat yourself up and try to get motivated. So these aerobic training can be really, really helpful in getting that thing started. It feels weird to walk away from your desk when you know you're supposed to be at your desk. But if you set a timer and come back, it can be really helpful. Okay, so here's the third one. And this is called skilled and mindful movement. This is the third type. The inhibitory control trainers is what they call it. So think of this kind of like a way to regulate. So this is going to be martial arts, Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, gymnastics, bar. So what this is doing, it's like mindful movement in a sense. So it's like self-regulation. So they're improving the brain's pause button because sometimes we have trouble stopping or slowing down. And so they are going to enhance our interoception. So this is the awareness of our body's internal state. So if you're someone that's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to eat. Anybody done that? Like, I forgot to eat lunch. I forgot to do this. I haven't drank water all day. Oh my gosh, I need to use the restroom. I forgot about that. So we can have weaker interoception. And so doing these things is going to be good for our emotion regulation, but also it's going to help us be more in touch with our bodies. And it also increases our emotional control and reduces impulsivity. So if like some people have described this, like if ADHD brain is like a race car, right? Because we have 10 times the amount of thoughts as someone without ADHD. And so these are the exercises that strengthen like the steering and also like the brake. So we can slow down and we can steer our thoughts a bit. So that could be helpful as well. Also, if you've ever had this, if you have like high cortisol levels or high stress, or you're just like overstimulated, what's really important is to have alternative exercises because I'm curious. So when I've been really, really overstimulated, sometimes the last thing I want to do is go do a really crazy workout and increase my stress. Like it's stress on my body. If I've had really high stress, but I still want to get movement in, and it's like, oh, sometimes I think, well, I don't want to go to the gym, like, and we don't know why. That's where it's good to check in and say, oh, do I need movement that maybe is going to actually calm the stimulus down instead of going to this, oh, I need to work out every day and I'm not doing it. I'm not motivated. It's like maybe you're overstimulated all the time and you don't want to go to a room with a bunch of people everywhere and a bunch of different smells and bright lights and noises and things like that. And so figuring out again where the resistance is, you've heard me talk about this, is if there's something you want to be doing and you're not doing it, but you really want to do it, right? So it's not in alignment with what your value is or what you want. You just can't do it. Instead of, I'm not disciplined, I'm lazy, I need to push myself, there needs to be a punishment. Why am I not consistent? It's like, no, where is the resistance? Go deep. Be curious. Where is the resistance to this thing that you're not doing? What is the pain you're trying to avoid? And it might be overstimulus, right? It's not that you're lazy. If you force yourself, it might throw your nervous system over the edge and be too much. So your brain's trying to protect you, but it's not telling you that consciously. Does that make sense? So that's why like going to judgment right away or just discipline is a band-aid, but it's not a sustainable thing and it can burn you out. So that's something I've run into because I can get overstimulated. And so that's where I'll do other movement or stretching. It's like, oh, I need to calm my nervous system down, not rev it up with running, or draining my adrenal glands. So it's interesting when we look at how to get started with this. And so we have an idea that we want to do, right? And so there are some common traps that kind of, like I was talking about, kind of kill our consistency. And so one of those, right, is like forcing yourself to do something when maybe you're overstimulated and need to shift to something. Or maybe your plan is way too rigid. If you have a movement or exercise plan, I talked about this a little bit last time, is instead of I've got to do this one intense workout 5 days a week or I failed, right? Or I need the perfect plan, which a lot of us can do. It's got to be this extreme thing. We want to give ourselves structure with flexibility within that structure. So it might be I get a minimum of 15 minutes of movement a day or 30 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever that is. And then I let it be good enough. So this is something that really got me back in it because I was super burned out. As you can imagine, I was a dual sport athlete. I dedicated my life to soccer. I played semi-pro. And when I was done with my career, I was just like exhausted, right? I've been doing, but I loved it. I've been doing since I was 5 competitively at a really high level. And so what was really helpful is to give structure, but not have the rigidity in it. And if you're really having a hard time, you just can't get to the gym, you just can't get moving in. Something that's been really powerful for a lot of people is like the 10-minute rule. So minimum of 10 minutes of movement every day, no matter what. Like everybody's got 10 minutes, no matter what, right? Like you have 10 minutes that you can find. And you can go to the gym or you can go for a walk. But the key is you need to set a timer for 10 minutes. And when your 10 minutes is up, if you want to be done, you be done. Like be done, right? If you are having a blast and you really, really don't want to, keep going. But if you're done at 10, don't push yourself because here's what happens, right? If you can imagine, it's like, okay, we'll just get into the gym, do 10 minutes. And you get into the gym, you do 10 minutes and the timer goes off. It's like, okay, push yourself more. Like, come on, you can do more. Has anybody done that? Like you do what you agreed and then you push yourself because that's a lot of times what we do. So yeah, maybe you get a longer workout in, but guess what? The next time you can't get out to get movement and you say, well, just 10 minutes, what's your brain going to do? You're right. 10 minutes isn't 10 minutes. You're going to push me, right? Right. So when it's like you need your brain to trust you because the next time you say it's just 10 minutes and you actually honor that, you're going to get in the gym for 10 minutes again. You're going to let yourself leave. So if you make a promise with yourself to go to the gym for 10 minutes or to go get movement and it's really hard and you do it, don't keep pushing yourself unless you're having a blast and you love it because that trains the brain to trust you when you say 10 minutes is 10 minutes and that's going to give you consistency, right? 10 minutes of movement a day, no matter what, will change your life. If you're struggling, right? If you just can't get any movement, you're in a rut, you haven't done it, start the 10-minute protocol today. And so, yeah, if it's 10 minutes and you're done and you hate it and you're overstimulated and you're go home, you did 10 minutes. That's great. But if you love it, keep going. So that trap that we can get into is I need the perfect plan or it's got to be intense, right? We can have that brain of extremes. So again, we want it to be good enough. We want repeatable beats, perfection or optimal. Too much intensity too early. So if you're just starting to get movement, ramp it up slowly. Keep a couple days really easy. We want to ease into this. This is a lot of us can have all or nothing thinking or extreme thinking. And we're probably more likely to go into some big thing and go all in, which is really cool. And when we're looking at certain habits that are going to take care of us for the rest of our life, think of this as a sustainable habit you're bringing in and you're building on as a practice for the rest of your life. So you're actually building something instead of just go crazy, burnout, go crazy, burnout. Other trap that we can come into is relying on motivation. So we want to build stuff in that's easy. So whether it's a gym buddy or a walking buddy, or like you train the dogs, you walk every morning, so they bother you now if you don't walk them and you feel bad. We want to put some things in place that make it easy, or you play on a sports team, you do something like that. You buy a membership to something where you feel guilty if you don't go. But we want something like that. We don't want to just rely on motivation. And then executive function, right? Make things easy, reduce the steps. If you know you're going to work out the next day, put your stuff out. It's so much easier when it's all laid out, or put it in your car already. Have your clothes ready. Have a snack in there, so that's not an excuse to not go. Have water. Have something simple. Another one is boredom after novelty wears off. So we want to rotate what you're doing every 4 to 6 weeks. So if you're like me, you might get really into something and be super like rock climbing. Oh man, I was all up into rock climbing, and then all of a sudden hit a wall and I was just over it. And so instead of like, man, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you into rock climbing anymore? It's like, okay, what do you want to shift to? Skateboarding? Do you want to get back into weightlifting? Like, seriously, right? So allow yourself to flex because the goal is the objective, not always the way that you get there. We want to just keep the movement going, but how you do it doesn't matter. So feel free to rotate things every 4 to 6 weeks. If you're traveling, that can break the routine. So maybe have 10 minutes of walking or adjust, keep the habit. That gives us structure too, which is good. And then if you get injured, you know, do modified stuff. It's just, again, it's that flexibility that's going to be really helpful. Just a couple things about timing. So should someone do a workout in the morning, the midday, or the evening? This has been a question. I've been in the fitness world. So I want to tell you the pros and cons for all of those. So number one, mornings. It's going to protect you from chaos, like the day hasn't really started yet. So it's going to give you an early win right off the bat. It is helpful for regulating our brain. Um, and you get that done the first thing of the day, and that can feel really good. Sometimes a con might be an earlier bedtime. So if your circadian rhythm is way later and you make yourself get up, and so you don't get as much sleep and you just can't go to bed earlier, maybe the morning is not for you, and that's okay. That's okay. So the con, I think, is more about you have to get up early, right? And then it's really good. So this is best for like entrepreneurs. Like if you have time blindness and you have trouble gauging, and it's just like your day gets away from you, you always miss your workout. You might have to do it in the morning, or you might choose to do that. If you have very like volatile, reactive schedules that aren't very predictable, which we can have sometimes, that's good. So morning workouts, midday workouts. So this can break up cognitive fatigue. So if you go work out and lunch, you got to protect it, but it can be a way to break the day up and kind of have a fresh start. It can reset our stress response. So if you're someone that gets really stressed throughout the day in real estate or in your business, whatever field you're in, it can kind of reset that. Obviously, in the midday, the con, like if something happens, if you don't protect that time, it can be derailed pretty easy. And that is best for people who do their best work in the morning. Like you might wake up and a lot of us can have a window where we do our best. Mine's in the evening. It's super weird. It's usually in the evening. Sometimes it can vary. But if you're somebody who your best work is right when you get up, you might want to get the best work done and not have a morning workout, but you don't have time in the evening, right? So that could be a good one. And then evening workouts. Evening workouts are a nice transition. So if you are working and then like you get home and it's hard to turn that off, working out right when you're done with work is a nice way to transition back into like your body and kind of personal time and leave that. So, and it can be a stress relief, just kind of leave the day. Um, Cons, if you're really tired, if you had a crazy day, it's going to be easier to skip it. If you do it really intensely right before bed, it can affect sleep. So just don't do something super intense right before your bedtime. And then sometimes the gym can be, it just depends if the gym can be a little bit more crowded, depends on where you're going. But it's good for like, I know like lifting in the evenings is nice. You can kind of take your time if that's something you enjoy, or you can do like a low intensity thing. So that's on the different timing, and there's more about that. But for ADHD, I think those are kind of the core things. Cool. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Get some movement in as self-care, right? Because it's a good thing, and care about you guys, and let me know if you need anything. All right. Have a good day, everybody.